Welcome back to this week's YouTube video. As soon as I turned on my screen for filming, I started seeing orbs on screen. I don't know if there were bugs, flies. To be honest, I've never seen a fly in my room that I can remember, that I can recall. So I don't know. I really wish I was seeing one, okay, this is inverted, this way and then one this way. And I don't think I caught it on camera, but today I am actually going on a paranormal investigation. And I'm going with a few other people as well. We're very, very, very excited. I'm going with my sister, and this is the first time that we're going to a paranormal investigation. We have been following different investigators for a long time, most of our lives. That was my last video. I went into explaining that, and I actually did an unboxing of paranormal equipment that I bought. In this particular investigation, we're not allowed to bring our own equipment. We're supposed to be using theirs. I'll also be using my own psychic senses, my own mediumship to see what's there. But I just wanted to give some background on this place. So this place is actually in Toronto. It's in North Toronto, so it's North York. It's called Village at Black Creek. I did a little bit of research on this place. It has a whole bunch of buildings, but it's mostly like outdoors. It's like an outdoorsy thing, and then you go to like each building. There honestly wasn't much information on the actual website, especially about the history of how it came to be. It's just kind of more of the stuff that's going on now. So a lot of the information I actually had to find out from Google. Sometimes I just do research as I go. Sometimes information goes in my head and in one ear out the other type thing. Village at Black Creek opened its doors in 1960, and it was bought by the TRCA, which is the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. And so before that, it was owned by the Stong family, and it was formerly known as the Stong Farm. And this is information I got from Google. The village is situated on land settled by Daniel and Elizabeth Stong in 1816. Their family farm served as a central part of the village. And that was before they sold it to the TRCA in the 1950s. And the TRCA moved over 40 19th century buildings from across the region to the site, so across Ontario, Canada. The Living History Museum opened in 1960 as Black Creek Pioneer Village. In 2024 is renamed to the Village at Black Creek to reflect a broader and more inclusive history. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different buildings on site at the village, including a blacksmith, general store, church, inn, and farm buildings. They moved over 40 buildings to the village, the TRCA, to create the Living History Museum. The buildings are decorated and furnished in the style of the 1860s. It's really interesting. So the village, basically, it is like a tourist attraction as a living history museum. And they have like art, events, exhibits for various Indigenous cultures and history of Canada, of the land, of the way things were done in the 1800s. So it's very, very interesting. It's very cool. Unfortunately, I'm not able to film any of the investigation there. So I was really hoping that I would be able to actually film and like have more of a video. So in terms of the buildings being haunted, well, it's very old site. Those buildings were brought to the site from around the region, which is in and of itself a whole energetic thing. Very interesting, if not a little maybe chaotic or confused, depending on if any human energy have connection to any of those buildings. It'd be really interesting. So I did a lot of research in trying to find out more about the paranormal history of these buildings and at this village, and I could barely find anything. Barely. Like, not a lot of people have done investigations there, is what I've come to the conclusion of, because there's not much information online. There's not information on the website, first of all, about the history of the actual place and of any like paranormal investigations, like common things that people find. So apparently the main house that is most haunted is called the Berwick House. So in this house, I don't know if it's this specific spirit, but people say that they hear a woman sobbing, and it could be linked to the loss of her children in the house. So they're not too sure, but that's just some accounts of what people hear or have experienced. And when I was looking up online, literally just through Google, so I guess I'm going to find out more tonight, but online I saw that people have reported a lady in blue looking for her lost children. And so I don't know how they're getting that information, either through psychic mediumship, paranormal equipment, the spirit talking with them, hearing sobs, hearing children's voices. I don't know. It doesn't give me much other than that, just that there's people report a lady in blue looking for her lost children. But yeah, there was only one paranormal group that I found online that did an investigation there. Basically, that's all I got for now. My thing is I have a few different mixed feelings about going to a paranormal investigation with an organization that does these investigations like quite frequently, especially during October and Halloween. And right now the veil is actually really, really thin. So the veil is getting thinner and thinner leading up to October 31st because it's spooky season and because, well, many different reasons. People will have different theories on this. Making the veil thinner in terms of communication with the other side, communication with other dimensions and the spirit worlds and things like that. I mean, I don't really use words like spirit world and other side because to me it's different. It's just different dimensions. It's kind of how I see it and how I explain things. And so those spirits are just in a different dimension than us, but they're at a closer dimension, which means we can still communicate, which is why it's different to communicate with like a spirit guide who, let's say, it's in the 6th, 7th, 8th dimension, right? It's a little bit different than to communicate with a spirit who's maybe in the 4th dimension, who's kind of stuck on Earth or hasn't moved on yet or whatever, right? So it's just kind of how I see things, rather than saying the other side. But right now, the veil is very thin to communicate with spirits. So October is actually, and a little bit into November, is a little bit easier to communicate with your spirit guides or loved ones or spirits on the other side, so to speak. You know, if they want to make that place their home, you know, they have free will. Sometimes spirits perceive that they're stuck, even though it's just a perception. It's all really up to them on if they're going to stay stuck or move on. And sometimes they need help with that. And so I would love to do that kind of work going forward, is to any spirits that want to move on, I would help them with. And I've done that in the past. I've just kind of stayed away from that for a while because I don't want to be bombarded in my own personal space by spirits, which I have before. And it's not very fun for me. It causes a lot of headaches and body pain. And for me, it's a lot easier for me to manage outside of my own space. So that's why I have a lot of protections here. But yeah, so I'm actually going to get ready. I have to get ready now because we're going to be leaving soon. We're going to be picking up my niece and head to the location. This is, again, our first paranormal investigation, so I'm very, very curious on how it's going to go. I don't particularly want to do paranormal investigations for evidence. I would rather do that in terms of if the land wants grid working or energy healing, or if the spirits want to move on. That's kind of how I want to do this going forward. But today I'm just dipping my toes in and just seeing how it's going to go, because this is my first ever time doing this. So I'm very curious. And we're doing it with a tour guide with a group. So I don't really know what it's going to look like or how it's going to work. So very excited. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to do. Oh, I wanted to make protection spray bottle. I already have these two spray bottles. One is for cleansing the space and one is for protecting the space. This is just for my actual personal room. So I do energy work in terms of clearing my space of energies that I don't want or spirits that need to not be in my space, respectfully. But this is for my personal use. So sometimes I'll use energy work. Sometimes I'll use sage. I'll use Palo Santo. I'll use incense, opening the window, my Himalayan salt lamp. And sometimes I use water and essential oils. So this is basically essential oils. This one has a bunch of different oils, but what the main ingredient is lemon. Main ingredient for this one is eucalyptus. No, eucalyptus and frankincense. I think there's frankincense in both of them, but this is just for my personal use. I'm actually going to make one for when I go to haunted locations, I guess, for energy work, paranormal investigations. So this is going to be for that. Frankincense is a really good essential oil for protection. So I'm going to start with that. I need to see what oils I have. I have a whole tray of just like big tray of like essential oils in alphabetical order. I don't need to put too many. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know why I chose those four. It kind of feels like I want it to be like a spray bottle, obviously for protection, but also that embodies divine love. And I just feel like lavender definitely embodies divine love, and so does rosemary. Lemon is just really great for cleansing. And I know we use lemon for like physical cleaning, but it still has the same energetic connotation of like energetic clearing as well. And frankincense is a potent boundary. So frankincense, when I put my intentions into frankincense, and I'm gonna put a high into this as well, and my own intentions and energy work. But frankincense is kind of like that boundary of like that, don't mess with me. Respectfully, leave me alone. For this specifically, I'm gonna put a high into it because it's supposed to be for energetic protection for us for today going into the investigation and leaving as well. I'm also gonna bring sage and Palo Santo to clear the auric field, the energy field after, so that we are free and clear going home by ourselves. There's actually a few ghost stories that we have that I don't know if I've ever picked up anything, but my sister definitely has. She has some ghost stories for sure. she's brought a few things home before accidentally, and I don't want to take that risk tonight. So I'm gonna be doing some sage, some spray bottles. We'll be fine.
Guys, what's our name?
Oh yeah, we have to think of a name. Who's excited for ghost hunting?
Me.
It's like, oh no, over there.
Does
It's
it
like
go
a
like
scene.
360?
It's like a scene. Ooh, does it? It's like a six. It's like a scenic.
Oh my God, it does.
Scenic.
That's really cool.
I know. Investigator name. What are we doing? I don't really like Blue Crew. It's gotta have something like multi-dimensional about it.
What?
Yeah. Like shadow light. No. I did some research, and basically this place was owned by the Stong family, and it was their farm in the 1800s. And in 1950s, the TRCA, which is a Toronto something, bought the land and basically had 40 buildings around Ontario brought to the site. So all the buildings.
This is like Burl's Creek in the States.
Yes.
Where they brought a whole bunch of buildings from other locations across America and
Yes.
they put it into one village.
Yeah, but it's basically across the region. It said across the region, meaning I'm thinking, Ontario, as a living history museum. So it's a living history
there right
museum.
now, that church.
Yeah. So it's a
Like,
living.
you say brung it as in they literally picked it up and just put it there.
Literally, they picked it up and brought it. And like the place that Shell was talking about in the States, they cut the church in half and brought it
To bring it
there. Which is like maybe not the best thing to do
Yeah.
energetically. So I don't know what they did here. We're gonna find out. But we're investigating 3 buildings apparently. And basically there's been a lot of people that have reported seeing a lady in blue.
This is the girl that was looking for her kid and mom said that
Yes.
to tell her that I'm looking for a mom. She
Yeah.
comes in my room, she goes, "Did you like my joke?" I'm like, "No, I already have a mom, Mom." Like, bro.
I don't know that you're looking for.
Like, Mom, she's gonna steal me, bro. Like, this girl has some competition now.
There have been reports of people seeing the lady in blue, crying, sobbing, looking for her children. I don't know. We'll find out.
Like they like seen or heard?
Both, I guess. There's not much evidence or accounts or stories of paranormal activity at this location. Like, it's very brand new, open to paranormal investigations, is what I've concluded. So that's the only paranormal thing that I know of at that location. But mind you, there's 40 historical buildings across Ontario that have been brought there. So I'm thinking it's very rich in history. It's also a living art museum. So I'm thinking it's gotta be at least residual energy haunted.
That is her serious. This is my arm's getting tired.
So I wanted to record this part of the video the day after our paranormal investigation, but now it's like 2 or 3 days later. I hope I remember. I wanted to record it right after so that it was fresh in my memory, but we'll just do it play by play. We were actually running really behind, so as soon as we got there, I had to like drop all of my stuff and get inside so that we could register, so that we didn't miss the group. There was a group of 12 of us, but like strangers. So there was 4 of us in our specific group, but the rest of the people were people we didn't know. So it was a group of 12, which is really cool. And we had no idea what to expect. They said that we were going to be using their own paranormal equipment and we weren't allowed to bring our own, as I've mentioned before. We did have flashlights to start because we were going in the dark. We started at 6:30 and it lasted about 2 hours. We actually went overtime, so it was over 2 hours. We had to turn our phones off. I don't know what's with my voice. Testing. I don't know what happened. Wow. Testing. Okay, that's better. Ish. Okay. It was getting dark. It was 6:30 and the sun sets at 6:45-ish at this time of year. And we had to turn our phones completely off, not just on airplane mode. I thought it was maybe like just airplane mode because no signals can come through when it's on airplane mode. But no, we had to turn it completely off. So we had no concept of time. There was no videos, like no recordings, which really sucked because I was really hoping that I could get something, like record something. And so we went to 3 buildings on the property. There was one building that we went to that was built on the property, and it was built by one of the sons of this Dong family, which I mentioned before. And one of their sons built his house on the land, and that was our first location. And so we went into the house, and again, a lot of my experiences are going to be through my psychic senses. There wasn't a lot of physical experiences. So there's that. But also on my channel going forward, oh my gosh, my voice. What is happening? I'm not supposed to speak today about the video. Maybe I'm not supposed to speak about my experiences there. That's wild, like my voice is. Okay, so we went into Sam's house, and it's like a wooden building. And so wood is theorized, known, my personal opinion, to store a lot of energy, like residual energy. I don't think I meant to film this video. There's been so many interruptions. Okay, wow. I've never had so many interruptions in a video, especially with my voice. So we get to Sam's house. Focus. Okay, we go in. It's pitch black. The whole time, that's why we have flashlights, because the whole time it's pitch black, and we weren't really supposed to use flashlights inside. I mean, we could for our safety. That's why we had them. But if we could go without them, we were like encouraged to go without the flashlights. So as soon as I went into the house, I felt unwelcome. Immediately felt unwelcome. I felt like whatever energy was in there was like upset or annoyed or just kind of wanted us to get out. Oh, my throat chakra is like causing some physical symptoms. I don't know what's happening. And so I was just like, okay. So I was kind of overwhelmed a little bit, but I was like, okay, it's fine. We're just gonna keep going. We sat at this table and we basically did like a welcome ceremony, just kind of like opening ourselves up to communicate with the spirits and that kind of thing, and letting them know that we're there and we'd like to communicate, basically. So we did that. His house was very small, so in the main section of his house where the kitchen was and the big table, and then we went upstairs. The stairs were very small, very creepy. They kind of went up in and around to the bedroom that's upstairs. I'm back. You guys don't even know that I left. Let me try and get through this story. This is wild. Okay. We're upstairs. We do a seance upstairs, which is basically like we just all sat around in a circle. There was 4 lights in the middle of the circle with like a ball, and the lights are battery operated. So there was like, it's like little dimly lit candles, very, very, very dimly lit candles, and they were battery operated. And interestingly enough, the candles, like the dimly lit candles throughout the whole night, were being really strange. I don't know. They were like turning off, like going like completely out, and then getting really bright again. And so obviously with the candle, like they flicker. So it's like the fake flame. So they're flickering, and then it would go out. And then we'd ask the spirit to turn it back on, and it would go back on. So that was strange and interesting. I don't know though, because they're not my candles, right? So I can't really say anything about that. I mean, the place is definitely haunted, for sure. That's without a doubt, in my mind, the place is haunted. Like, yeah. Also, for my channel, it's like, for me with the paranormal investigations, it's not so much a proof. I'm personally past that. It's not the proof. It's not that. It's investigating pieces of land to see if there's any messages, if there's spirits there, if there's an actual haunting, quote unquote, or things like that. Like, I'm a 100% believer, I'm a psychic medium, so I know in my personal experience that it's real. Right? The other side's real. Other dimensions are real. Parallel universes are real. That's what past lives are. They're just parallel experiences happening at the same time. That being said, we were asking questions to see if there was any spirits with us, who they were, what their name was, and we were asking yes or no questions. And we heard like taps. We were hearing taps in one specific corner. So it could be that corner is more creaky, it could be rotted, I don't know. And I just hear taps, tap. And it was right after we would ask a question, like we would wait maybe 5 seconds and the tap would happen. So we would ask a yes or no question and like tap once for yes and then nothing for no. And after the questions, all for the yeses, we would hear the tap within 5 seconds after asking the question. So that was interesting. I am a 100% believer, but I don't believe everything. There are some things that are explainable, obviously, right? Like, not everything is paranormal. I believe that everything happens for a reason. So whether it is something physical happening that is a spirit trying to communicate with us, or my spirit guides, or the universe, or whatever, right? So I do believe that nothing is a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. So, that being said, I also know that there are a lot of explainable things, right? Like, houses settle, houses creak, houses, but for there to be no taps happening when we are silent or not asking questions, and then right when we ask a question, there is a tap 5 seconds later, it's a little weird, So that was that. And then we left that building. That was all for that building. The more time we stayed in Sam's house, though, the more welcome I felt-ish. It was more of like curiosity. It felt like we were invading his home at first, and then it kind of felt like, oh, okay, like, who are these people kind of thing. But it is weird going into like it's like going into a stranger's house. It's like, and the stranger didn't invite you. It's that kind of thing. It's like we're breaking in and entering, and that was the vibe when I first went in. But it was okay after. That made me feel a little bit weird though, because again, we're only there for like a half hour-ish at a time, half hour to an hour, because we did go over the 2 hours. So, we're only there for a short period of time. And normally with paranormal investigators, they're in one building for hours upon hours upon hours on end, all night, usually the whole night, getting to know the spirits and things like that. So for me, it just kind of felt a little bit more impersonal, kind of felt like really quick. We didn't get to build a relationship or communication with the spirits. It was just kind of like, hey, who are you? And then we're going to leave. It's like, it didn't really feel that personal, but that's what you kind of get. I mean, it's only like it's a 2 hour thing, or 2.5 hour thing. So, we don't get a lot of time with the spirits or whoever wants to communicate, right? So we go to the second place. The second place, I don't really remember what it was called. I think they said it was some type of like council hall, not like a courthouse and not a church, but it did have pews and it did have like a front. So immediately I thought it was a church or some type of council hall. That place was thick. And I realized after why. I didn't know why at first, but I went in and I was like, whew, this is heavy. My sister's also very sensitive. So everything that we were saying to each other, we were agreeing upon. Like, she would say something and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. And I would say something and she's like, oh my gosh, yes. So we agreed on everything, which is really interesting. We were on the same page about what we felt and what we were experiencing. And there was 2 corners of the room that were very weird. And our guide confirmed that later. Like, my sister actually mentioned that, and he confirmed that those 2 corners are the corners that people say that are weird the most, which could be egregorish energy. And egregore is kind of like a thought form, and it's basically like when a collective group of people put a certain energy or belief or thought behind something, it kind of forms an energy ball, and that energy ball is basically thought form. So it's like the collective thought. It's like when we all agree on something, like, what's an example? If we all put belief on something that something's real, then that thing becomes real. that kind of vibe. And so it could be that maybe the spirits just stay in those two corners, which I find a little strange. I don't know what it is up with those two corners, but it could be like an egregore kind type energy where everyone says that, and so that's what that corner, that energy becomes, is a strange, weird, thick, dense energy. I don't know. And so that's really interesting. And the guide was asking what we felt in there, and I spoke up and I go, it feels thick, it feels dense, it feels like rich history. Again, it's all wood, so you know, I believe that energy gets trapped in wood, kind of like residual, and kind of like a time capsule where energies can play and play and play from certain time periods. And so that's kind of what I felt like. Felt like there was just so many people in that room. But I found out later why that could be. They actually made that place into a portal, which I personally don't agree with, but that's okay. It's besides the point. They had mirrors on either side facing each other, 2 mirrors on one side, 2 mirrors on the other side. So there's 4 mirrors and they were facing each other. And so when 2 mirrors face each other, it is theorized that it creates a portal. I don't know if I believe that to be true. I haven't investigated that enough. I haven't had personal experience with that, but I also wouldn't mess with it. If people are saying that, then again, people put thought and belief into something, it can make it true. That's the way manifestation works. It's the way intention works, right? So, and if you don't believe in something, then it makes it not true, kind of thing. That's kind of what I believe. It doesn't mean it's not true for other people and other people's reality. It just means it's not true for your reality, right? So like both can be true, which means if you don't believe in something, then it's not true for your reality. But if somebody else believes in that thing, then it's true for their reality and it would work for them and it wouldn't work for you. Does that make sense? Like, I hope that makes sense. I'm asking my camera as if it can answer. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts. But yeah, so that was interesting. So in that building, we did what's called scrying, which means you look in a mirror and you relax your eyes and you just kind of stare into the mirror and see if you can see anything. I didn't personally look at myself for too long because like we're in the pitch black. We're in the pitch black. We can't see anything. And so I'm basically looking in this mirror of this like shadow person, which is me. And it was kind of creepy. So I didn't really want to do that. But I was looking around. And my sister actually did the same thing, which is so funny. We're on the same page for all of this. I was looking around and I saw like a black cat, like the back of a black cat in the mirror that was to my left. And so it was really interesting. So I don't know. To me, how I perceive black cats is protection. Like a familiar, their protection. That's how I see black cats. And so that works for me. But yeah, that place was really, really thick. And I feel like once I found out about the mirrors, I was like, oh, that makes sense. I don't know who's regulating those mirrors. I don't know who's allowing what to come through in those portals. Moving on. The next building we went to, I don't remember what it was called. If you wanted to look it up, I couldn't tell you. It was like a gathering place for everyone in the community or the village. I don't really know where it's from in the region. I don't know if it's original to the land. I don't think so, because again, over 40 buildings were brought to the land. So I don't really know where it was from, but it was like a gathering place. Like there's bedrooms, there's a really big kitchen, really big living room, there's a ballroom on the second floor, on the upstairs. The main floor I call the first floor, and then the floor above that I call the second floor. That's how I describe that, so just so you know. And there's also a basement. So there's a basement, first floor, second floor. And it was full of spirits, for sure. I could feel them. As soon as we went in the kitchen, I think it was 3. It was 3, 2 left, and then there was one lady, like a female that I felt that was in there to the corner, like the farthest corner. She just kind of was like staring at us, is what I could feel and see. And what I could see, speaking of, backtrack to the council hall, I saw like a shadow figure, literally. And it wasn't like a blob, it wasn't just like a blob, it was literally like arm, shoulder, head. But I was kind of on an angle sitting in the pew, and it was like literally in the pew behind me, but it kind of like right beside me because I was on an angle. So it was interesting. So I told the guide that. Again, a lot of my experiences are going to be psychic mediumship related and not physical. Anything physical happened in the council hall? No. In the gathering house place with the 2 floors in the basement, there were taps and creaks. My sister heard whispers, which is interesting. That wasn't the group. Again, we're in the pitch black, but because our eyes adjusted, we could like see everyone. And we were all in the ballroom at this point when she heard whispers, and she could hear the whispers coming from the bedroom that was across the hall. It was really interesting. I heard at least one thud that wasn't anyone's feet because I looked around. And I was like, I mean, it could have been a shuffle, could have been a foot, but everyone was standing still at that point because there was a group of 5 people in the middle actually doing the Ouija board, which I did not volunteer to do. So everyone was like standing still and then like engaged in whatever was happening in the middle, but I heard a thud. It was really interesting. A foot would have been a shuffle because everyone was standing still. It was like a stomp. So I don't think anyone was stomping. I don't know. Could be wrong. Again, it's hard to like account the physical things, the things like that for paranormal or just explainable. Like it's hard to do that, which is why I do rely on my psychic senses a lot. I know that some of like I could distinguish between what I knew was paranormal from some of the taps. Like in Sam's house, there was a creak and a tap, and my heart went. Psh, psh. So I was like, oh my God, that's a spirit. Like I knew immediately. There were some taps that I was like, maybe not. Like maybe not. There was some that were like, oh my gosh, yes. And then there was some noises that I was like, that may be explainable. So there is a clear difference between what I know is like paranormal through my intuition and what I know is like maybe not. So there's that. Oh yeah, we got the chance to look in every single room, but so we were like technically allowed to use our flashlights. We were told that we should try not to. And the flashlights, like, you know, it's fine, obviously, but I would have preferred everyone to not use their flashlight because every time somebody would turn their flashlight on and then turn it back off, my eyes had to adjust again. And it was just throwing off my eyes, and I couldn't really see any of their rooms or like really like pay attention or focus or meditate or whatever on what I was sensing around me. It was just flashes all the time. And I'm like, it would have been really bad if I was not good with flashing lights. Like, it's just on and off all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can't really control that. So next time I do a paranormal investigation, I would prefer not to go with a really large group. So I'll have to do my research and see what is out there in terms of doing an investigation or renting a place, things like that. I have to do my research. Or if you know a place, that's another thing that I wanted to mention throughout this video is if you know a place in Ontario specifically that offers like paranormal investigations, or for me to do my own investigation / energy healing, if you know a place that's haunted or that needs help in terms of like I do energy healing, I do clearings on spaces and buildings and homes and land. So if you know any place like that, let me know in the comment section down below or send me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram handles my name. I'll leave it in the description down below. But please let me know. It'd be really cool. Even if it's like a private home, a building, a restaurant, or like whatever, like if they do paranormal investigations there, to do an investigation, or if you know of a place that needs help or support in terms of clearing a space, energy work, energy healing, investigation type vibe, let me know. So when we were in the ballroom, which again is on the 2nd floor, which is very interesting because it would be very loud, and there's 3 bedrooms on the 2nd floor with the ballroom. How could anybody sleep? I guess they didn't. I don't know. Nobody slept while there was balls, I'm sure. With that being said, there was a little Ouija board session, which my niece threw up her hand, jumped right in the middle, was jumping up and down, and I fought everything in my being to not hold her back and just do this. But it's okay. It's okay. Clearly, I personally don't like Ouija boards. I don't think I would ever do one. Now, I don't know what the future holds, but she's always wanted to do that. I'm really glad that she got the opportunity to do that with somebody who knows what they're doing. This is my advice coming from an energy healer. I personally wouldn't mess around with something that you don't know what you're doing, or with other people who also don't know what they're doing. Because yes, it's a toy. It's made by Hasbro, whatever. You can buy it at any store, but at the same time, it's also not a toy. And there have been many cases of nothing happening. There have been many cases of really bad things happening. So my personal opinion, you don't want to mess with something that you don't know what you're doing, you know. And some people might argue like, oh, well, like, you know, then I know it's real. I just want to see what happens. It's like, you know what, to each your own. So I've never worked with one. I mean, I do very similar things. I work with a pendulum, basically the same thing. It's a pendulum, but I'm communicating with my energy, myself, my higher self, my spirit guides. I work with dowsing rods. You know, and I hear a lot of stuff online that dowsing rods are bad. They're not. Same as the Ouija board. It's not. And, you know, you call it a spirit board, you can call it something else. It's not that it's bad. It's not the tool itself. It's how you use it, right? And so there's certain things that you need to know what you're doing. That's the thing. It's not bad. It's that the guide knew what he was doing in order to open it, in order to close it and say goodbye, right? And so it's just knowing what you're doing, basically, and setting up protections. And I teach that. I teach protections and energy work for yourself in my membership, TLC. I teach all kinds of energy work things. I teach the psychic senses, how to protect yourself, how to open up your space, close your space, how to communicate with your spirit guides, how to communicate using pendulums, how to communicate using oracle cards and crystals and dowsing rods and different things like that. So those are the tools that I work with. There might be other tools in there that I also work. I work with essential oils. I also work with sound therapy, so sound bowls and things like that. But spirit board is basically like the same thing. You gotta know what you're doing. It's my opinion. It's my advice. So next we went to the basement. The basement felt light, so light and fun. I literally went into the basement and I saw the residual energy playing out. So what I saw when I went down there was basically like a really happy, fun party. What I was seeing, which is like a time capsule, was basically like the imprint of that time is like imprinted into the space, basically, and it plays kind of like on a loop sometimes, which is basically, this is the gift of like clairtangency kind of thing, where it's like you touch an object or you go into a space and you see a time period of that space or that object, and you get information from that object or that space, basically, of what it was used for, that kind of thing. And also using my clairvoyance and claircognizance. Again, those are the psychic clairs, which I teach in my membership. I saw a bunch of people throughout the whole space, everyone at tables drinking, I want to say ale. Like it seems like back when, drinking ale, their beer, having a drink, and just having so much fun, like a party, and just everyone's laughing and joking and being loud, and the bartender is, making drinks and being loud and laughing. It's just, I heard a lot of laughter, and it was so fun to see that. It just felt very light and very fun. So that was really cool. Because usually, and my sister actually agreed with me too, because I was like, how'd you feel about the basement? She goes, it felt really good. I'm like, right. Because usually people associate basements with being creepy. So in the basement, we gathered around the old bar place, and our guide pulled out the spirit box, which is really cool and fun. And so we were listening to the spirit box, which I personally like devices like that. Of course, I use my psychic senses. I also like the devices. In a lot of the paranormal shows that I watch, I take every show that I watch with a grain of salt, because I know there are some that aren't maybe always truthful, which is fine. So I use my intuition on what show I would prefer to watch is maybe more credible than others, but that's okay. But I like the devices. So there's different devices. There's a spirit box. There is like REM pods. There are EMF detectors. There's cat balls. There's the music box. Like all these different devices just kind of like go off or make sounds or noises when there's a spirit nearby that interact with it. And a spirit box, what I explained in my last video, basically radio waves, and they're sweeping at a really, really fast rate, and spirits are able to use words from that to shout into the box and to give us information, basically. And it's interesting when the responses line up with the question, or the responses are right after the question, like 5 seconds after the question, the response comes through and it corresponds with the question. So those are really, really interesting. And that's kind of how you find out more information. I actually have a spirit box, and I also have what's called the Estes method. So we did the Estes method. I actually did it. I actually went under, which is really cool. So if you're unfamiliar with the Estes method, basically uses a spirit box and without using your physical senses. So you have headphones that are plugged into the spirit box, and they're really, really, really loud. So you cannot hear. I literally had people 2 feet in front of me, 10 feet in front of me. They were all in a circle, and I could not hear a thing. It was so loud. It wasn't like deafening loud, but eardrum safety, but it was so loud. All I could hear was the of the sweep from the radio. And so my sister actually volunteered me, but I wanted to see if anybody else wanted to go first. I didn't want to take it over, but I did it, which is really cool. So basically your hearing is gone. Like you can only hear what's the spirit box, and then you have a blindfold on. So I had a blindfold on, so I couldn't see anything and I couldn't hear anything. Basically immersed in the spirit box. It's theorized that you slip into an alternate state, which I'm very familiar with. It's basically like channeling, like how I mentioned in my last video. If you slip into an alternate state and you're just basically listening for any words that stand out. And I don't know the questions that were asked, and I don't remember. I did ask my sister and my nieces after, like, what questions were asked. I don't really, which is why I wanted to film this video right after the investigation, but I didn't. This is like 2 or 3 days later. So I don't really remember the questions they were asking. They were asking little things, I guess, like, I remember something about a bartender. They had a job there or something like that. So what my experience, again, because I couldn't hear the questions. There was a lot coming through. It's actually really challenging to listen to the spirit box to make out words, because I know there are things trying to say something. I just can't make out what they're saying. For a lot of it, it's unclear, or it'd be like a really clear voice would come through, but the word was kind of cut off. So I don't know what they're trying to say. I did get Spanish. I don't know why. When I came out, I was hoping that the guide would tell me that there was a Spanish person. It's totally possible, but I also used to speak Spanish. So I don't know if they were connecting with that. I just heard Spanish, like, I don't know. So that happened a few times, actually, just kept coming through. And I don't really know what they were saying, because again, it goes so fast. And the words that are said go so fast that, like, you really have to pay attention. And I'm basically like slipping into an alternate state. So I'm trying to stay conscious enough so I could understand the words and say them out loud, but I'm also like going into meditation. So it's like, it's harder than it looks when I see it on TV. I guess you do have to have practice listening to a spirit box, like listening to words and things like that. What was said? Barry and Sutton came through a lot, like very clearly, like Barry and Sutton. So I don't know if there were names, or if those were somewhere where somebody lived, if it was maybe where one of the buildings are from, like somebody's from there. So Barry and Sutton, if you're not familiar with Ontario, are 2 like towns in Ontario. Barry's a city, I think. I don't know. But they're like 2 towns/cities in Ontario. They're actually in places, but they could be somebody's name as well. Barry and Sutton came through once, and then Barry came through again. As soon as I put the headphones on, it said my wife. As soon as I don't even think the headphones were actually on my ears, and it said my wife, which is really cool. There was a lot of yeses and nos. There was, I'm working, employer or employment or employed. Again, like, you know, it's hard to distinguish the word because it said employ, but it was like more to the word like employer or employment, employed. And then there was also separately, I'm working. There was a full sentence that came through. There was like 4 words, 4 or 5 words. I don't remember what the sentence was, but I do remember there was like a long, like multiple words, which is really weird. That's not very common. There was, okay, so it's really interesting that most of the words sounds like a staticky word, like a radio word, right? So it sounds not like a person like speaking like this, like it sounds different, right? There was one voice that came through, and it was a man's voice that was like clear as day, as if this man was speaking right in my ear, like an alive person speaking in my ear. But I did not make out, like I could hear his voice, like his voice was clear as if a man was standing right beside me, which there wasn't. I checked after. I asked my sister after. I was like, everyone was not near me? She's like, no. So loud voice, but I couldn't make out what he was saying, but it was like a clear man's voice. It sounded different than what the other words sounded like. The other words sounded like radio, like static, like that. It's hard to explain, but I couldn't make out the words, which is frustrating because the voice was clear, but the word was not. I don't know what he was trying to say, but it's unfortunate. I can imagine how hard it is. I know it's hard for me, you know, like it works both ways, right? The telephone works both ways. It's probably hard sometimes for them to even see us or hear us. Like sometimes the spirits can't see us or hear us. And then it must be really difficult for them to try to communicate in the physical realm too, which is why we have so many different technologies to help them communicate with the physical realm. At the end, middle-ish of the Estes method that I was only under for 5 minutes, but it felt like 15, 20 minutes. Like it felt so, but it was literally 5 minutes. I asked my sister because he told me, he's like, you'll only be under for 5 minutes and then I'll pull you out. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I asked my sister, I was like, was it 5 minutes? Like, was it actually? She's like, yeah, about that. Yeah, it was 5 minutes. And I'm like, bruh. It literally felt like I was under for like 15, 20 minutes. Wild. Like it felt like I was under for much longer. He had a watch, our guide had a not a smart watch. But yeah, towards like the middle-ish end, like the words and what the spirits were trying to communicate was a little darker. there was somebody that was murdered in the house, which is really sad. And I don't know if it was that spirit that was trying to communicate or something else, but it was saying words that I didn't feel comfortable saying out loud to the group because I didn't want to like scare anybody, because the vibe that I was getting from the like our guide throughout the whole night was like he was keeping it light and positive. Even the questions that he was asking, because he was also asking questions throughout the night, throughout different investigations that we were doing. So I didn't say what I was getting, which you're supposed to, but like I wasn't sure the vibe. So there were some things that were a little creepy that was coming through, and I didn't feel that comfortable. Like I didn't know if I wanted to go down that rabbit hole, because if you start to acknowledge and go down that rabbit hole, then it keeps like you keep going. But since I ignored some of the words that were coming through and the energy that was making me feel really uncomfortable, I moved past that and I just waited for other words. It moved on and it went to more of a positive route. But I did tell my sister and my nieces afterwards, and they're like, you should have said something, because we were asking questions about the murder and about the guy. And I was like, well, it was coming through, but I wasn't sure the vibe of the group. So yeah, I guess I should have clarified, like if there's anything that came through that I shouldn't say, which is another reason why I just want to do my own investigation. I want to do my own energy work, my own energy healing, whatever the spirits want, more or less, in divine love and light for the highest and best of all. Yeah, but it's okay. I have my own Estes method. I'm not going to do it on my own property though, because I don't want to be inviting anything in here. But yeah, so that was the investigation, and we were in the pitch black the whole time. My first time doing that, anything like that. So, but I realized, I did tell my sister later that I like, obviously, like being a psychic medium and an energy healer, I'm familiar with energy. Like I know what that feels like. I know what a spirit feels like. It was just confirmation, I guess. But I talked to my sister after, and I look at her and I go, so we know what a haunted house feels like. She goes, yeah. I'm like, that's not the first time we've been into a haunted house. She goes, no. I'm like, okay, yeah. Like I felt that before, felt familiar. Not this house, obviously. You know, spirits that we don't know are not allowed in this house. They're being really loud right now. I'm trying to get through this video. I'm trying to finish this video so I can edit it and put it up on Sunday. I can't focus because of my ADHD brain. A weird thing that happened. Well, I was on a train of thought. I don't remember. It's two trains of thought now. Tab got minimized, guys. So our old house was definitely haunted. Yep. And I've been in spaces and in buildings before that are super haunted. Like I know. Now I know. Now I can trust my intuition more. That place, you know, Village at Black Creek is definitely haunted. 100%. What else happened? Oh my gosh, we got to the car. We chatted in my sister's car for probably like 45 minutes. Just, we had to debrief. We had to debrief everything. We had to chat about everything, everyone's experience. And then I did some sage on them, cleanse them. No spirits were allowed to follow us home. No spirits are ever allowed to follow us home. But yeah, all in all, it was a really cool experience because it's my first experience. I didn't know what to expect. And I realized after going to a confirmed haunted locations that I have been to many my whole life. And I know what that feels like. Definitely trusting my intuition more and my psychic mediumship, because I haven't really I've only touched my toe into mediumship, which is like connecting with loved ones and spirits. I mean, I connect with my own loved ones all the time, but never, I mean, I can't say never because it happens all the time, I guess. I see other spirits, but I don't open it up because I don't want to be overwhelmed. But if it's for a specific intention or purpose, going to a certain piece of land or property to clear it or to help spirits move on, if it's for their highest and best, if that's what they choose, then I have my psychic mediumship for that. This was a really fun experience. It was really fun to share my experience and my stories. I wish I could have filmed it. That would have been really cool. At least just the four of us. Like I didn't have to film the other people. I wish I was able to just film the four of us, but that's okay. It's all right. Next time, I guess. And there for sure will be next time. There for sure will be something. I'm sure. I don't know what. You know, I kind of wish that they opened up investigations all year round. There might be some places that open up investigations all year round, but to have it only in October doesn't give anyone enough time to actually plan that or do them all. There's so many in Ontario. Ontario is actually pretty haunted. Especially Kingston. Thank you so much for watching this week's YouTube video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my stories and me talking about my first paranormal experience. It was so much fun, and I can't wait to do something like that again because it was really cool. I hope everyone has a great day, a great spooky season, and If you like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe, share with friends and family if you think they would enjoy this type of content. And until the next video next week, bye!